Hi, you've started into your stamping and everything's going great, but how do you get those stamps clean, keep them clean, and not worry about ruining them in some way? Well, first let me tell you that a stamp doesn't have to look pristine to be functional. Most of my stamps are very well loved and they have ink on the wood or they have a little bit of the residue of the color I used on the acrylic. They still stamp just beautifully. So don't feel like you have to have every piece of ink off your stamps to make them work correctly. But let me tell you a few things that may help you as you're cleaning. First of all, we're going to talk about scrubbers and spritzes. So here's two different companies that have some sprays and they have cleaners. So in this case, this is Technique Tuesdays. This is their scrubber. I'm just going to push these other guys off to the side. And you notice that on their scrubber they have two sides. When I use this scrubber, I designate one as the wet side and one as the dry side. And I will actually spritz on the scrubber itself. You can spritz on the stamp too. Just takes a couple of spritzes. You just spritz on to this one side, and I usually use the thicker side. If you were to feel these, there's a thicker side. Then when I'm done with my stamp, I scrub it here to clean it. I scrub it on the other side to dry it off. Okay, so it's a two-step process with this scrubber, and a lot of scrubbers out there. They have one side for cleaning, one side for drying. Okay, with this little guy, he's more of a brush, and it has just the one side. So you're going to spritz your stamp and then bring your stamp and scrub it along the top of this little brush. It's kind of like a nail brush. It's going to clean off your stamp really nicely. When you first get your stamp sprays, save your lid. That way when you're going places, you can put this back on. You don't have to worry as much about leaking as when it does when you have your spray nozzle on. But if you don't have it, not a big deal. It still will travel well. Now, there are other options as well. One of my favorites, because it's easily accessible and travels well, are baby wipes. The key thing about using baby wipes is you want to make sure that there is no alcohol in them. So don't just verify it by the label. Actually flip it over and see what's in the ingredients. If it says alcohol, you don't want it. And the reason why is it does dry things out. Just like it dries your skin, it'll dry out your stamps, and you could see the rubber start to break down over time. So baby wipes are a great option. You of course don't have to have this large of a package. Just a little travel package will work, alcohol free. Another thing I use a lot is soapy water. Especially with acrylic or clear stamps. If they start to get to the point where they won't stick to your block, so you put them on the block, you stamp and they fall off, it's because they are dirty. And so I'll just get a bowl of warm soapy water, drop my stamps in there, and then have another one that's just clean water, put them in there, put them on a towel, pat them dry, put them back on, and they will start to cling again. So that's a great option there. You can also just use, if you don't worry about getting all the ink off of your stamps, just use a wet paper towel, or I have an old rag towel that I use, and I get one half of it wet, one half of it dry, and I just scrub it clean on the wet side, pat it dry on the dry side, and go. So you can just use water. Again, my stamps look well loved. Now, how about these blocks? Over time, they get kind of dirty looking as well. Windex is a great way to get those clean. And we found these handy dandy wipes that work really well. But basically, because it has some good cleaners in it, you're just going to scrub it clean. It's going to get off all those residues from having your different stamps on there. And you just want to let it dry and it will be all ready to go. They're going to look beautiful by the time you get done and ready to stamp again. You do want to let it dry though, otherwise your stamps aren't going to stick really well. The last cleaning product out there are these ones that have a built-in scrubber. So if I take the lid off of this, you're going to see that there's a little scrubby pad right here on top. And that way, all you do is just rub this across the top of your stamp and it will clean it off as well. You'll usually need a paper towel or something to kind of dry off the top of that. So lots of different ways you can clean your stamps. There's really no wrong way to do it other than using alcohol, which will dry out your stamps over time. So have fun creating and stamping.